How's it going, everybody? Welcome all to Level M Diecast, officially wrapping up 2023 Matchbox 1 to 100 Mainline. I did want to do a wrap-up video. I thought this might be a kind of a different take on it. So basically, we're going to put together all the makes and stuff of the year, compile and see what everybody stands as far as their contribution to the year. Good thing with a 1 to 100 mix, everybody is worth 1%. Good old 1% per car. So we're going to kick this off with all the generic models. There are all the generics that were released in the mainline, just the mainline for 2023. Couple of notes to talk about here. That is a variation on the print. There was the dark and light prints. Not a factory error or anything like that per se. Not a factory variation for sure. But I do want to throw those up there because they do exist. Those were pretty hot for a minute. People were trying to find both of them. I got lucky enough to get them both, so I feel pretty fortunate. A couple of factory variations. There are two interiors for, of course, our airport truck, two interiors for the trailer, your sport bike, or the kind of chopper-looking vehicle there. A couple more ones that didn't quite fit on the screen. We do have the Garbage King in 70th Anniversary Deco. We also have the Doondog in Lions Bros Racing. Kind of nice to see that casting come back. And then good old Uncle Abe's Island Barbecue catering truck, food truck. I do believe this one came out like right at the beginning of 2023. I think it was the A case, maybe B case. So that is all the generics. Now, each one of these doesn't necessarily equal 1% because, of course, as you know, that one is not factory per se. And, of course, these guys all take up the same number. So there's actually only going to be 15% of generics. So generics only made up 15%. That's a pretty good number. It's a pretty good number that only 15% of the entire mainline ended up being generics, which is really, really nice. So let's move on. All right, everybody, knocking out a lot of those little 1%ers, those little tiny nibblers that didn't really do much for the year. Of course, a lot of these are going to be new castings, and that's kind of the way it works. Of course, we do have our Auburn up there. It was for Indiana Jones. There's only one Auburn in the mix, of course. 1% there. Same with the Bentley next to that. Your Curtis Sports Roadster, I think is what it's called. Your Karma GS6. We have one Buick, one Holden, the Koenigsegg, one Cadillac, and of course your Morris Minor on the bottom, which does come in two variations, factory variations. So 1%ers on all of those individuals. Same with our SpaceX Dragon capsule there at the top, which it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I actually like that casting a lot. It's a pretty nice mix. And then just a couple of double hitters. We had two Volvos come out this year. They are both brand new castings, so that was a good mix. And then a couple of Audis as well. The e-tron was a new casting last year, not 2023, but 2022. And then another Audi TT RS to scoop up in the mix. So a lot of 1%ers, but we'll get to some pretty big heavy hitters here shortly. All right, everybody, moving through the next batch, we do have a bunch more single hitters here on the left side. Our AMC Eagle, which was a pretty nice mix for last year. The Mahindra Tractor, our Fiat, McLaren, and of course the Opel there at the bottom, looking very, very good in orange. Our center row constitutes the Porsches of the year. We did get 5 Porsches last year, which was a pretty good mix. Two of those are new casting, or one of them is a new casting, I should say, with the Cayenne. The 918 Spider there at the bottom was pretty nice in yellow. That red 911 GT3 is essentially just pulled over from the global line, which is a little bit of a bummer. Really bummed out about that one. 3000 GT and then the Citroen Ami, both 1%ers, good old 1%ers. And then, of course, we have the international mix. We do have the delivery van, our ambulance, and then, of course, the brush truck, which was a late addition, very, very end of the year to wrap that up. So, looking pretty good. I'm liking the mix so far. All right, rolling through with our next backs. Of course, we have Toyota, which has a ridiculous amount of variations. You do have to get all 4 models in order to get all the variations if you want to be the ultra completist in that aspect of it. One Lexus right there on the top. There's your sole Lexus right there. Just the LS400 up there by himself. We had one Mercedes. I was really shocked to find out that there was only one Mercedes in the mainline. I thought for sure there'd be more than one, but there's only one, and that was a new casting this year. That is the new SL. A couple of Hondas underneath there with the E1 and, of course, the N600 off-road. Those are your last two Toyotas in the mix. Your 4Runner and, of course, the Hilux, which looks pretty good. And then one more straggler. We do have one Subaru right there on the right. That is a pretty nice one. They've had some pretty good colors for the Subaru. I think it looks pretty good. And then, of course, Tesla, because, you know, Matchbox been going green, or at least they've been trying to go green, so they've been doing a lot of electric cars. We do have, of course, the Model S, the new casting for it, the Roadster, the Model X, and then the Model Y there at the bottom, which is okay. It's okay. Kind of a bland mix, though, you know, just white and gray for the most part, except for a little bit of steel blue on that Tesla Roadster, which is, it's all right. It's all right. All right, rolling through with a couple of, you know, one brand that usually has a lot in the mix and one brand that usually doesn't have anything really in the mix. Usually we don't have much Nissan. We do have a few Nissans this time. There is the NV van, your hard body, and of course we did get that nice wheel variation on the Sentra this year. I think the 5-spoke looks way, way better, in my opinion, than the 6 spokes, for sure. Of course, Volkswagen right there in the middle. A couple of Golfs. There is a factory variation on the inside of that one. So that one is, you know, just a 1%er as far as itself. And then, of course, your ID4 and your Volkswagen new Beetle there at the bottom, which has the, you know, the disc hub wheels, which I feel like should always have the disc hub wheels. And then on the right, we do have some Renault. We got 3 Renaults in the mix, the Twizy, the Kangoo, and, of course, the Megane. So, you know, they're definitely making more and more European cars, which I think is a good thing. It's a nice, good flavor for the mix. And then rounding it out with a couple more 1%ers, seem to just keep on finding 1%ers with your BMW Touring there at the bottom. And, of course, the 41 Plymouth. The 41 Plymouth was a brand spanking new casting for this year, which is pretty nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting very, very close to the end here. We're covering Chevrolet there on the left. Yes, I know that the tractor or the plow at the top is not licensed anymore, but in my book, it will always be a Chevrolet. It will always be. It will always be a top kick. Always, forever. That's how I have it in the catalog, so that's how we're going to showcase it for you. Our 34 Master Coupe, you do have your C8, your Camaro, and then, of course, the El Camino there at the bottom. One single Land Rover in the mix, which is very shocking. Very shocking that there was only one Land Rover in the mix. Only 3 Dodge models as well. That have your both new and old Charger, then, of course, your swept line right there in the middle. And then on the right-hand side, starting to move up there in the world, is Mazda. So we have our CX-5, our RX-8, our AutoZam, and then, of course, the MX-3, which is not too bad of a mix. I think it's looking better. It's looking better. Some older castings in there. Older models, I should say. Not new cars, but it works. It works. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the biggest chunk of the year, making up a whopping 14% alone, of course, is Ford. Ford is always the biggest chunk of every year. As far as I can remember, it's been like that for many, many, many years. Not necessarily just because, like, new castings per se, but they just do, you know, they just have a lot of Ford castings to use. I mean, if you look at this mix here, there's only one new casting out of this entire mix, or 2, I'm sorry. It's the Ranchero and the Bronco Sport. Those are the only 2 new castings. Every other casting in there existed before 2023 mainline. You know, some of those were just barely getting the second color of, but they still existed nonetheless. So it's not like they're necessarily adding more Fords per se, but I think this is a pretty good mix. Got a couple of Mach-E's last year, a couple of the Interceptors last year. Look okay. Looks okay. I'm really happy we got that F-150 in baby blue right there at the end of the year, which really helped out. And then, of course, National Parks on the Bronco. Probably the best one of the mix, just because of, you know, where it lands in the collector realm. But let's move on. All right, everybody, we are wrapping this up with a couple of honorable mentions right after we cover the last ones of the mix. Of course, Jeep there on the left. For as many as Jeep models they have, very surprised to only see 4 in the mix. And one of those was a brand new casting, so at least that is good. At least Jeep's still rolling along. A couple of Polarises there. You do have the Ranger and, of course, the Razor, only making up a couple percent themselves. And, of course, our honorable mentions. There were 3 Chases last year, Super Chases. Of course, it started out with the Ford Coupe, and then it went to the Mercedes wagon. And of course, we also got a Porsche Macan, which I unfortunately still don't have. Very, very difficult to find. And then, of course, your red editions at Target. The Camaro was pretty easy to find. The Mustang was pretty easy to find. Bugatti, impossible. Porsche, impossible. The Mercedes was easily the easiest one to find. As a matter of fact, I can probably still find those on the pegs currently. And then the Raptor there on the left, I got lucky enough to find 2 Raptors one time out in the middle of nowhere, just randomly, just really, really weird. But the red editions are very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So those are just honorable mentions. Not everybody can get their hands on the chases or the red editions, but I did want to mention those because those are technically part of the main line. But they're a little bit bonus. But there you go. That is the mix for 2023. We're getting this thrown in the catalog. We're getting this put away. We're going to roll on to 2024. So hope you guys enjoy that. Hope you guys were able to complete 2023. And we're moving on to a new year. Appreciate every single one of you. Catch you later.